Hi, I'm Jeff. This is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north. Now, I'm happy to say it's late September, mid to late September now, and we're having somewhat of an Indian summer. So it's t-shirt back on again, and hopefully for the next week it will be glorious weather, lots of barbecues, which will suit my plant that I'm going to talk about today, which is the Habenaria Medusa or Medusae. And the question is, am I bitten off more than I can chew? So let's dive in and take a look at it. And we are in. Glorious day today. Fabulous in the greenhouse. I mean, it looks great in winter, but it looks even better when it's sunny and warm outside because I get those natural temperatures. So what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to take a seat for once, and we are going to walk over to the warmer side. I've been looking for something to grow in the warmer side of the greenhouse because this warmer side seems to have lots of plants which really prefer it to be cooler in winter. So I've been kind of moving them over slowly to the cooler side where it drops down to 12 in the winter. But what we're going to focus in on today, and I'm going to have a little seat here while I discuss it, we're going to focus in on this little beauty over here, which is a warm to hot growing orchid known as Habenaria Medusa. The genus is Habenaria. Medusae is the species, and there it is. Isn't that glorious? A tiny little orchid, and in my experience anyway, probably the weirdest orchid, both in terms of the blooms and of course the growing conditions and the care that it needs. And the question is whether I'll be able to make this survive in the greenhouse here. I've had a little look and done a little bit of research, and I think I tick most of the boxes. So we will have a chat about that and see if we can decide between us whether I have the conditions or whether I can provide the conditions for this beautiful little orchid to thrive. Now, just thinking about what orchids or what makes a plant an orchid, this for some reason doesn't seem to match what I know as what makes an orchid. So certainly in terms of 3 petals and 3 sepals, I've no idea how that fits in there, but it does look really stunning. And it's only just opened up. This opened up a couple of days ago, and I believe these blooms will have a scent to them, a very slight scent, and will last for a full 2 months. So it's going to be spectacular when those other blooms open up. So we'll just have a look at the whole plant here. It's only a tiny little thing. Is my hand for reference there. It's in a strange media. I'm not quite sure what that is, and I'm loath to take it out at this stage because it doesn't grow anything like any of the other orchids that I have got growing here in the greenhouse. So let's have a little chat about what it does and what I've managed to find out. And first of all, I'm going to credit a lady called Sue Bottom, who is an author, as far as I can see, at the St. Augustine Society website, and she's written some excellent articles, and I'll definitely encourage you, if you are growing these or thinking of growing these plants, to get over there and have a look at the information she's written about it. I've not just taken her word for it, I've looked at other pieces of information, but her article was the one that struck me as being the most easily accessible, and the one that she also referenced some very well-known orchid growers. So I'm going to take that as gospel, and I'm going to have a go at doing what she suggests that we do with these plants. So first of all, Habenaria Medusae. So obviously Medusae is in reference to the straggly bits. Is it a Greek goddess? I'm not so sure. I'm not really up on that era of history. But Medusa anyway, didn't she have snakes for her? I can't remember. So it's a species orchid, and it's native to Southeast Asia. It's obviously a lowland species, and it's a warm to hot growing species. So the temperatures, it prefers like 19 to 25 degrees Celsius through the day and about 16 at night. Now I can provide that during the summer months. During the winter months, and this is where things get a little weird in terms of orchids, it really only wants about 15-16 degrees, but what happens to it is something that is not similar to the other orchids that I've been growing, Again, I'm going to get into that in a second. Humidity, 65 to 80% humidity. In here I keep it on average about 70, so that's absolutely fine. Even though it's a warm to hot growing orchid, it prefers slightly shadier conditions. Again, where I've got it here, it doesn't get direct sun, so that's fine too. 11-12 hours in terms of light through those growing period. Again, I've got a grow light in this side now, I'm giving it that, so that's absolutely fine. So the thing that makes it different is it goes dormant through the winter. Not dormant in terms of it just stops growing, it completely dies back. All those leaves and the bloom, obviously, they will all go yellow and die back. And it has a tuber. It doesn't have pseudo bulbs, and the tuber is buried under the media there. And I think I've probably got 2 tubers because I've got 2 growths there, unless you get multiple growths from each tuber. It's going to look great when now these other blooms come out too. So what will happen, this presumably will flower for a couple of months, and then once all these leaves and the flower spike die back and turn yellow, just before they completely go, because I need to be able to orientate these things the right way, then I'll knock it out of the pot. I mean, I'm desperate to have a look now to see what it looks like, but I'm not going to spoil it. I'll knock it out of the pot and I will repot it in a clay pot. Now, the reason for that is these tubers like to be in total darkness, and I realise this is in a transparent pot, and whether that's only recently been transplanted or whether it's dark enough inside the pot, I don't know. But I'm gonna put it in a clay pot. I've got a pot that's just about right for it. We're told that it needs to be something a little bit deeper, but not necessarily wider. And the tuber, when you find it, you've got to make sure that you replant it the right way round. So and apparently the root side and the shoot side look absolutely identical, so this is why you need to leave something on it so that you can see which side is which when you eventually do repot it. And it's through the winter months, when you can't see any top growth, that the tuber develops through the winter and then sends up a new shoot. So as we've said, this tuber orientation is key, and if you get it the wrong way round, many plants that are bulbs or tubers will still find their way to the surface, but apparently this one won't. So you've got to make sure you get it the right way round. And they need to be planted at a depth of about 1 centimetre, because apparently those new shoots that do come from the tuber can have a hard time getting through the media. So if you plant it too deeply, it doesn't come through. In terms of media, well, again, it very much depends on your conditions. She suggests to use sphagnum, perlite in a mix together. I think she used something that had like some kind of very finely chopped bark. I don't have anything like that, so I'm just going to try sphagnum and perlite. Another key thing is that when you do repot it, you don't water it. So you repot it into a bone dry mix and you leave it like that. You don't water it again all through the winter months. Now, some sources did say water it sparingly every 3 weeks, but she got her information from a commercial grower, and it said to completely leave it totally dry all through the winter. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to repot it into a dry mix, and I'm going to leave it and wait until that new shoot emerges. And then when the new shoot emerges, when you do water it, you water it only a little tiny bit, and you gradually increase it as that shoot starts to form. And you've got to be careful that you don't get water on the shoot, because it rots very easily. There's a very common theme amongst orchids. So that's it really in terms of the care for them. It's completely different, as you'll probably gather, from any other kind of orchids. You just get used to growing one kind of orchid and then you go and get another one. My own fault really, I didn't really look it up. I just wanted something that was warm to hot growing, that I could fill in the gaps over at this side of the greenhouse. But it is a fabulous genus. And if you've seen some of the other varieties that you can get, some of the other species that you can get from this Habenaria, they really are something. I think that if you can grow them, you might want to get into them. I know obviously you've not it through the winter months, but I think they definitely are a talking point. It's an absolutely glorious bloom, and I can't wait for these others to open up. And I think they probably will do over this next week, seeing as it's going to be so warm this next week before the autumn really hits us again here in the UK. So that's Habenaria Medusa, and as I say, I hope I haven't bitten off too much there, and I would like anybody who's grown this successfully perhaps put some tips into the comments for me. That would be wonderful. And for now, I will see you on the next one. Bye.